Hi, I'm Ramin,
And I'm Dan.
and we're two blokes and a mic, and we have returned to you for yet another episode of time-wasting information.
2021.
2021, yes, sir. And
First
in
recording.
in light of recent events,
Yes.
we are dubbing this episode "The Internet is Forever," and you'll see why in a minute.
hmm
Dan, you want to roll with us?
Okay.
All right, man.
So, three things. Three things we wanted to talk about today.
Great.
Bad coding and making sure that you clean up after yourself. The we'll expand on that in a little bit.
Okay.
Also, understanding technology and the inherent, perhaps risks is the wrong word, but being
Risk.
aware
Yes.
of technology. And there's two different points on there. So without further ado,
Yes, indeed.
let's go into our first topic.
First topic
which
of the Internet is Forever.
Which is Parler and
Yes.
and the hack of Parler.
Yes.
So for those of you who are not aware, Parler is a social media platform that has been used for conservative viewpoints and was recently shut down by pretty much everyone.
Well, it was shut down by Amazon, who was the host.
Right. And
Right.
any
Took
of
them
their
offline.
partners.
Yes.
All of their partners.
And all of their partners, correct.
Right. So now that in itself is okay. It is what it is. But what happened before it got shut down was that somebody hacked their system and downloaded pretty much everything.
Correct. Yes. The individual who hacked in didn't have to expend any special effort. It was so badly coded and done so like a rookie would, that this person had to all the authentications were in clear text, and any log files that had been deleted were not actually deleted from the servers. They were just merely marked for deletion, which made them recoverable, basically. Right. So this individual, per the news media, they've indicated that she downloaded 80 terabytes worth of log files from everybody that was on the platform.
Think about that. 80 terabytes of data.
Correct.
Can't do that quickly. That takes a
No.
long time. That
That
takes
means
a long time to download.
That means she was there since the doors opened.
Yeah.
She was there and nobody knew it. Nobody was paying attention.
Right. So the takeaway from this is that you don't trust it. You go on your platform and you say something and you, I should probably delete that. That's not going to be deleted. Never think that what you put out there is ever going to be deleted or gone away forever. It's just going to stay there. So the takeaway is never trust your platform.
Right, exactly.
Even if they say that they have the best security in the world, even if they say that they purge the logs, that everything is deleted, the whole Instagram thing, no, not Instagram, some of the other platforms where they claim to delete everything after you've sent it out. Never trust it.
They
Never
don't.
trust it.
And here's the thing. The fact that law enforcement can subpoena the log files indicates clearly that there's no deletion going on.
Right. And even if they claim to be doing this, there's also incompetence.
Yes.
Parler, for example, as a perfect example, was claiming to delete, and in fact were not. They were marking things to be deleted,
correct,
but not actually purging that data. And then there's backups. When you're taking backups of databases, that's a snapshot of that data in time. If then after that backup, you delete that data, well, that backup still has that data.
Correct.
So all of these systems are put in place to protect your data. Well, in fact, what they do is they keep that data around.
Correct.
So when you get a subpoena from law enforcement or whoever, or you have to go through a lawsuit and the lawyers say freeze all of the data,
right,
including backups and everything else, well, all of your data is still there. So
There's a reason the term e-discovery actually exists, because the data is always there.
right.
So be very careful about what you post on social media, what you say, and if you take pictures of yourself doing stuff, that doesn't go away. Be thinking about that. I don't even want to go there, but
Take that as a lesson.
yes,
Don't do it again.
don't do it again.
Okay. Moving on.
Moving on. Moving on up.
You have to have a fundamental understanding of technology.
That is correct.
Your cell phone, where is it? I happen to have an iPhone. It's there, it's forever, and it's tracking your movements. It's not only tracking what you're doing, but it's tracking your location.
Mm-hmm.
When I walk down the street, they can trace that I'm walking down my street.
Correct.
What do you think happened in the Capitol building
Yeah.
a few days ago when all of those people stormed the building, and even if they weren't taking selfies, even if they
Which
just
many
kept
of
their
them
cell
did.
phone, yes,
Which many of them did, which was, to me, was just like, you're a bloody idiot. But okay.
maybe they got swept up in the moment. Maybe they were just very enthusiastic.
Yeah, maybe they weren't thinking. Yeah.
But anyway, even if you were a little bit paranoid, but so you didn't take out your cell phone, you didn't take a selfie, and you didn't post anything when you were there, they are still tracking your location. It's based
Yes.
on hardware.
It is
So
based on
this little
hardware.
device has a hardware chip in it that is unique to every single piece of hardware.
Correct. It has a fingerprint. It has an electronic fingerprint.
That traces back to your carrier. And guess what? The government has access to all of that. All they've got to
Correct.
do is subpoena that company, and they'll tell them exactly where you were on that day, exact location, because not only do they have the cell phone towers, but they have Bluetooth geolocation as well.
Yep.
That means they know exactly where you were.
So you can't say you weren't.
And this is why you need to understand technology. If you're smart and you don't want somebody to know where you are, they have these little Faraday bags. It's basically a little bag that has a wire mesh around it.
It prevents
And
radio
it will
transmissions.
block any type of communication that the cell phone can have. Put it in there, zip it up, then you are anonymous. Then they cannot trace where you are.
Correct. Yes.
Understand technology. Understand it.
Yes. I think the lesson of all of this is that it's still, I get from decision makers in companies. They look at me and go, you know what, you're the expert. I don't know. I don't understand technology.
Right.
You cannot be that person anymore. You will get into trouble at some level, whether it's, the FBI knocking on your door because you were at the Capitol building or whatever, or you made a technological choice because you didn't understand what you were choosing. Those
Knowledge
days
is
are
key.
gone.
Yeah, knowledge is key, and
Yes.
abdicating responsibility is irresponsible.
Is irresponsible. It will put you, your family, and your company in danger
Right.
of a lot of different things.
Right.
Right. And so it's absolutely essential. If you don't understand technology, find someone who can explain it to you.
Right. Or do some basic research.
Do some basic research. The information's out there.
And this kind of follows on to our last subject, which is IoT, Internet of Things.
Yes.
Now, this used to be just your fridge that had a screen, and you could surf the internet. Great. Congratulations. It's also things like smart power switches, smart light switches.
Correct.
Light bulbs, various
Thermostats, doorbells.
But things, as they normally tend to do, have progressed, and IoT devices are showing up everywhere, from your toaster to other things. that
Yes.
you mentioned
Yes, I
something, and
did
I don't
mention
even know
I
if you
did
can talk
mention
about
in the
it.
pre-show thing, and I may briefly mention it again here. So one of the things that's happening, and this is a function of people, and the unfortunate part of it is that it's marketed as just connect, put the double stick tape on the outside of your door for your doorbell, connect it to your Wi-Fi, and you're good. Now, technologically and technically, that's correct. But the reality of most people is that if they have their own Wi-Fi router in the house, the username and password is still admin admin as it came from the factory. Nobody's ever made that change. The password for the Wi-Fi connections is probably password or something of that nature. The reality is that you really do need to go through and secure your network before you start adding things to it. There's apparently a new phenomenon called swatting, where people will hack into doorbells and cameras that have speakers on them and then call the police, dial 911 and say there's rape, murder, whatever going on in this house. And the SWAT team arrives and bangs down the door only to realize there's a family sitting watching TV. And the SWAT team gets the people who are on the speaker will start, making fun of the family and the SWAT team. And it's because people don't change their passwords.
Mhm.
This is real. This is not something that happens to other people. You need to understand technology and how to secure your world. It's doable. It's doable. One of the things that happens, unfortunately, is that all we hear about is the bad things that happen. Nobody ever says, by the way, there's a way to prevent this, and that's, don't choose easy passwords, change your passwords frequently, and make sure that you keep an eye on what's happening. And yes, I mean, on the funny side of things, there's a adult toy manufacturer recently who had a particular device that locks around your waist via Wi-Fi, and somebody hacked into those things and shut off the unlocking mechanism so they couldn't be taken off. And so these people had to call tech support and have them force the unlock. So, it's funny, but it also is indicative of the fact that just because it says smart home, smart Wi-Fi, smart thermostat, whatever, doesn't mean it's fire and forget. You need to set it up, and you need to have a process and procedure for your network, for your emails, for your passwords, for everything. And if you want to know more about this stuff, certainly look at some of our other videos, email us, ask questions. We're happy to help.
As much as I hate to kind of say this, um, I would also tend to err towards the bigger companies that do IoT devices, and that's purely because they're going to put more resources. They're not going to have shortcuts. They're going to do more updates, and they're going to think about security and think about those things. Whereas the smaller guys aren't necessarily focused so much on security, and they're more focused on getting the product out to market as soon as possible.
Agreed. They don't have the resources for the programming. They don't have security analysts on staff to look through the source code and go, yeah, this is where people are going to get they're going to be able to hack in. No, the smaller companies just don't have the kind of resource.
Yeah.
So yes, if you're going to buy something that's internet connected for your house, um, do some research. Make sure that the company is large enough that there's a possibility they've spent some money on encrypting their traffic, et cetera. I mean, even things like Alexa and some of the other Google based devices that are very very popular, and even in some cars now. Not everything is. It's not safe just because the marketing says it's safe,
Right.
right?
Right. Do your
You need
research.
do your research, pick the right products, and then you need to take the time to correctly configure them to make them safe.
Right.
Right? They
And
will they will work right out of the box, but they won't be properly protective of you.
most people know somebody who's kind of techie and is interested in this kind of stuff. Reach out to them, ask
Yeah.
them to just take a look. Did I set this up right? Are there things that I should do or be aware of? Do some research. just look at some of the forums, the support forums for the product that you've just
Correct.
purchased. Just take a look and see, are there tons of comments about a specific thing? Should I go through and change the defaults, or is there other things that I should do? Just put some effort into it, because it's not trivial, and
No, it's not.
things like the things around your waist, that's not only embarrassing, but that can be a real problem. So
Yeah, it can. The reality is that we live in a different world than our parents did.
yeah, yeah,
And to sort of wish that it was the way it was is foolish. It's not the way it was, and it's never going to be the way it was. We have moved on.
yeah. And ultimately, the biggest takeaway from this particular podcast is trust.
Yeah.
Really, really think about it. Are you really going to trust this device? Are you really going to trust the logs? Are you really going to trust the location of your cell phone? Think about things before you act.
Correct. No, I think that's the takeaway. Fundamentally, think about things and then educate yourself.
Yeah.
It's essential. You got to educate yourself. It's just there's no way to get around it. The days of I don't know nothing about technology are gone.
I understand that all of these products, the manufacturers want to make them as intuitive as possible, so that a 2-year-old can set them up, and that's great. If you're going to do that, then make sure that as that stepping through process enables the end user to harden their systems. Otherwise, it
Yes.
requires more effort.
Correct.
So, if you're going to just guide somebody through, that's great, but make sure it's secure at the end of that.
Right. Exactly. Security is the key, and you need to have conversations with your children about internet safety.
Yeah.
Not everything on the internet is safe. Just because it shows up on the screen doesn't make it good. It's no different than the old days when not everything that was in print was necessarily true.
Right.
Same is true today, even more so, and it's more insidious these days than it was before. Your movements, your shopping habits, your emailing habits, your conversations on all of these platforms are being tracked. Whether you want them to be or not, they are. Now, if a platform chooses not to use that against you, that's great. But you need to understand what you're dealing with here.
Mm-hmm.
This dog can bite. That's the way it is. Sorry to be such a downer, but
Nope.
it is what it is, man.
Education is key.
Education.
Think about it. Do your research. You'll be fine.
Teach yourself, teach your children well, as the song goes. Or
Okay.
have them teach you.
And I think that's
it for
all we have time for.
it for this episode of Two Blokes and a Mic. I think we have again wasted enough of your time.
Right.
Thank you for spending your time with us. Thank you for listening to us ramble on about this stuff. It is important. Take care of yourselves. Take care of your kids. Take care of your networks, and you will have a much better life. So that's it. That's our takeaway. Have a wonderful. It's another weekend coming up, so have another wonderful weekend. Put your feet up, relax, and stay safe out there. Talk to you soon. Bye now.